a ball and you trust your lob, but your lob's not working today. It's going out all the time. It's like, where the hell is my lob, right? So you're freaking out. So there's stress management on a maintenance level, and then there's stress management in those moments. So my coaches, Shane and Mark, what advice do you guys have for players in those moments when the heat is on and you feel like you can't even trust your lob, right?
Mark?
Well, here's the thing that happens to the best players in the world. It happens to all of us. And what I tell people to do is you have to try to remove yourself from the situation that you're in, because that's what's paralyzing you. So if you think about the score, if we think about the importance of the match, then you're not going to be focused on the smaller picture, which is executing the next shot. So advice that I give my students is remove yourself from the situation mentally and say, what is the next task at hand? So if the next task at hand is a lob, think about exactly where you're trying to put that lob and just focus on the placement of that lob. Don't think about anything beyond that. Your opponent will respond to that, and then you think about your next task. The next task might be a drive down the line. So you have to start compartmentalizing all these tasks and letting go of the bigger picture, which is what always gets in people's way.
Think small.
Think small.
Think small.
And if you want to compare it to NFL, you always hear coaches say, one game at a time. That's what they say. So in this case, tennis, one shot at a time.
Yeah, one shot at a time. Shane?
I think you nailed it. You have to be very careful about being result-oriented as far as what's the score, did I win or did I lose? If you get consumed with winning or losing, that's gonna fry you up here, and it's not gonna feel so good in here. So if you can pay attention to simply playing good tennis or living a good life, the results that you want will naturally come. But if you're so over-consumed with winning or losing, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt you inside. One little tool that I use, let's say I build the perfect point, or I build a nice resume and I go for the job that I want, and maybe I mess up the last minute. You got to be careful about degrading yourself so much and becoming negative. So after I miss a shot that maybe I made all the right choices, a little tool that I use is I'll snap my fingers and all shucks, and then I move on. I just move on to the next point and continue to try and play another good point. Not win or lose, but just play a good point and enjoy what it is I'm going through.
And there's actually physiological wisdom. I can't do that very well. but the idea that you're talking about is have a ritual that means let it go, let it be, or have a ritual whereby you move on. One of the things I will say is next point, next shot, and that's helpful to me. But I like the notion of that because there's a sound, and there's something that you can do with your body. And what we know about the psychology of that is when we pair a movement with a thought over and over and over again, it becomes automatic. So that snap happens, and my suspicion is that even in your daily life,
yes,
you can let go of something.
Yes.
So it could be something with higher stakes than tennis, and then you pattern that into your nervous system. And we know that as humans, we can repattern our nervous system with a lot of repetition.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
The other thing with tennis is you will lose points. I tell all my
I
students,
hate that.
you're going to lose points. It's inevitable. And the perfection is unfortunately not attainable. So, that said, the idea here is to hang in there, because a loss of a point is not going to mean that much in the grand scheme of things. Just like in everyday life, you're going to have your setbacks. You have to overcome that. So it's about building up resiliency. And too often that you and I have seen tennis players will make 2 bad mistakes in a row and then they fall apart. So you can absolutely make several mistakes in a row and survive a tennis match. No question about it. So it's a great way, tennis is a great mechanism of practicing, staying strong amidst your mistakes and then moving on and still perhaps being victorious. And I'll piggyback what Shane said earlier. He talked about make sure that you don't make it so black and white, winning and losing. And one thing that he and I always emphasize is goal setting. So based on the situation. Situation meaning if you're coming up against an opponent that you know is really strong. I mean, we should never concede from the beginning, right? We want to go in every match thinking that we have a shot at winning. But there are certain times where if I were to play Roger Federer, poor Roger, but if I were to play Roger Federer, I wouldn't have a shot. So I would go into that match, my goal would be, if I could win a game, a set, that would be fantastic. So other goals would be, you know, Shane's my pro, I've been working on my topspin forehand with him. If I can walk away from this match knowing that I've hit more topspin forehands than any other kind of forehand, victory. So I think goal setting is important.
And it's about the process, you know, so what we talk about is process goals, which is our goals about how we want to approach a task, which is more topspin or more slice or, you know, first serve percentage, or in life, you know, we want to be calm in this meeting. And I've used that with clients before when they were going into a meeting they knew that was going to be tough. Your goal is to be calm. And particularly in negotiation, if you go into a negotiation with, I will win, it's the worst way to go to a negotiation. And I've learned that as a psychologist over the years. So I thought about that when you guys were talking about getting too focused on the winning and the losing. There's actually two pieces of advice that one Mark is giving, one Shane is giving, that have actually stuck with me that I think have huge ramifications for tennis and for life. One that, and this is something, Mark, I think you say it sort of casually, but it really was a breakthrough for me competitively, is that a tennis match is not about winning a point, it's about winning more points than the other person. And it really broke through strategically for me because, you know, club tennis is a game of errors, and even at the pro level, it's a game of errors in some respects. So it's just this huge, and you think about that with the negotiation or something in your life, what's the bigger picture, you know? And in that case, the match, what's the bigger picture? Who has more points? And as I learned later, it can be who has more points at the right time.
Sure.
Timing.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
And then the other thing was something that we were experimenting with Shane, and he said, okay, think about just win 3 points. Just win 3 points. And last season, my doubles partner and I, Pam, were down match point. And I looked at Pam dead in the eye and I said, let's just win 3 points. And Mark was there, and we actually came back from match point, which was a fantastic event. But that's our thing when we're playing really bad. I'll say, let's win 3 points. You know, and it's funny how 3 points, you know, or let's do 3 right things today. Okay, I'm going to do 3 things on my to-do list, then I'm free. But that kind of way that we structure our thinking can really help us and help us create breakthroughs in our lives.